I moved from London to Berlin 6 years ago, and that move made my heart split into two pieces, and with each passing year, I feel that split more and more deeply. I constantly feel torn between the place that is my original home and the place that I'm trying to make feel like home. Half of my heart is in London, where my family, my home, my language, and my culture is, and half of my heart is in Berlin, where my partner and some of the best friends I've ever made are. And when I'm in either of those two places, my heart never feels fully whole. And if you've ever considered moving to a different country, whether it's by yourself or with someone else, and you're still not quite sure about it, there are just some things I feel like you should consider before you take that leap. I was 24 when I decided to move to Berlin, and at the time I was really sure that that was the right decision for me, but I know that for a lot of people who are considering moving, that decision doesn't come so easily. There's usually a lot of pros and cons lists that people make and just general uncertainty about whether it's the right move or not. So I'm hoping in today's video, by sharing one aspect of my experience of living abroad with you, that it will help you decide whether it's something that you might want to do in the future or not. If you don't know me, by the way, hi, my name's Hannah. I'm an ex-doctor turned social entrepreneur, and I left the UK back in 2017, straight after I graduated from medical school. I came to Berlin with the intention of only staying here for a year because I wanted to take a break from medicine, give myself some headspace, and then decide what I wanted to do next in my career. At the time, I was feeling really lost and confused about what to do in my career, and I just needed some distance away from medicine to help me decide what to do next. I honestly, hand to heart, never thought that I would be staying here for 6 years. The plan was to always just stay here for a year, so I never thought that I would have to deal with the pain of my heart never feeling whole because people I loved lived in different countries. And my parents actually lived in Iraq at the time, so I already felt a disconnect in my heart between different countries, and then I didn't think I would have to slap a third one on top of that as well. And having my heart split between the UK and Iraq wasn't too bad because my parents came to visit and I also went to visit them from time to time. But now that I live in Germany, where I have absolutely no family, I honestly feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place because I've created my own sense of family here. Like I said, I have a really loving partner here and I have some really amazing friends here. And I honestly would give anything for my heart to feel whole again, because at this stage, it feels like no matter where I go, I'm always going to be leaving someone I love behind. But of course, there are definitely some positives to living abroad and even living far away from your family. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but honestly, sometimes distance does make some relationships stronger. It's much easier to forgive people when you're so far away from them and you miss them really deeply. And these smaller arguments and disagreements that you tend to have with your family happen less often, and when they do happen, you just tend to get over it quicker. You end up feeling quite lonely when you're living in a country with no family. So I have found that for some family relationships that I have, our relationship has actually gotten stronger since moving away, but that doesn't make it any less painful to know that I can't just go see them whenever I want to see them. Honestly, at this stage, I just feel like whatever choice you make in life, there's gonna be some sort of pain attached to it. So it's just about choosing your pain rather than avoiding all pain. But the more time I spend away from them, the more I feel like this tugging at my heart and soul, prompting the question really of like, where should I be? Where should I be living right now? At some point, I feel like it's definitely gonna come to a head and I'm gonna have to make a firm decision at some stage. But because my options are open, and I am very thankful that my options are open, it still feels quite difficult to have to make that decision because I have a choice to make. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of The Paradox of Choice. Excellent book, highly recommend. But sometimes the more decisions that we have to make, the more incapacitated we feel and more unable to make that decision because we just have too much choice. And even though choice gives us freedom, that same choice can end up being kind of like a prison, because the more choices you have, the more indecisive you are, and to be honest, I am kind of indecisive sometimes, the harder it is to make that choice because you just have more options. And I think it would have been easier if Germany was an easier place to live. But Germany is great in some ways, but it also is quite difficult to live in other ways as well, particularly as an expat. There's an organization called Internations, and they do a survey on expats and how expats are living in different countries. And their Expat Insider survey results for 2023 are quite telling. In this survey, Germany was ranked one of the 10 worst places to live for an expat, which honestly is quite shocking because I did think that there are problems in Germany for expats, and it is quite difficult to integrate here, but I didn't realize it was that bad. But in some ways it is also understandable. And this report has lots of really interesting statistics. If you're interested in it, I will leave a link in the description below. All that being said though, it does really help that London is not that far from Berlin, so I can travel back and forth between the two fairly easily. And it also really helps that there is a very large expat community in Berlin, and I have genuinely met some of the best people I've ever known in this city. So as cheesy as it might sound, you can end up like building your own family here as as well. And as an Arab, where big families are like the core of our life, it does get really hard to be away from those big communities for a long period of time. Although let's not lie, those sorts of communities also come with a plethora of their own problems as well. But over time, as I started to feel this friction in my heart and my soul over these divided places, I started to wonder if there may be a solution or a way to reduce that friction at least. So I started to think of ways that I could kind of get the best of both worlds and what I could do to help improve my situation. And the way that I think that I can do that is by doing the 4 following things. So the first one is having a location independent job or business or something like that. And it's actually one of the main reasons that I got into tech, and now one of the main reasons that I am into content creation is because I want to be free to move around. Otherwise, I'll just get too depressed if I stay in one place for too long. So being able to move back and forth between London and Berlin is just really important for me and the lifestyle that I want to build. The second thing that I want to do is try and live in London for an extended period of time to see if I actually would like to move back there or actually would enjoy living there. Because in all honesty, I've never lived there fully for a long period of time as an adult. I obviously grew up there, but I went to university in Liverpool and then I came back for a couple of months and then I moved directly to Berlin. So it's strange, even though it is like obviously my home and it's the place that I feel most at home in the whole world, I've never actually like past university lived there for an extended period of time. So I'm hoping that I can go back for maybe a year to test it out. The third thing I want to do before I make any firm decisions, even before I go and test out London for a year, is to try and get my German passport. They've recently changed the law, so it's easier for you to get the passport once you've hit 5 years of living here. And before, they wouldn't let you keep your British passport, but now they will. So, I mean, if there's a way back into the EU, I'm just going to take it. And the final thing I want to do, and please just don't be mean to me in the comments, the final thing I want to do is get to a higher level of German, because I think that it will help with the integration and I will feel more independent and more integrated if I am able to speak German at a high level. Right now, my German is very basic. I can speak it, but it's just not very good. But although it has been quite a difficult journey in some sense, living so far away from my family for all these years, I am super grateful and thankful for my experience of living abroad, because it has genuinely broadened my horizons. I've become a much more considerate, I think, loving person. I've learned so much about different people and different cultures, and I've met some amazing people. So I wouldn't give this up for the world. I think it's been the best experience I've ever had in my life thus far. And I even made a video about the 10 life lessons that I learned since quitting medicine and moving abroad, and you can watch that video here. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!